Your ears do not deceive you. You have just entered the Cryptid Creator Corner brought to you by your friends at Comic Book Yeti. So without further ado, let's get on to the interview.
Hey, comics fam, short and sweet here. We have a Patreon, so if you want to help us keep the lights on and spread the good word, you can drop a small tithe in the offering plate at Cryptid Creator Corner Pod over there. Membership starts at $1 per month, and we've got some great extra footage from the podcast dropping soon over there. Link in the show notes, and thank you for your continued support.
Thanks for your donation.
Do you love sci-fi? Are you a horror fan? Maybe you prefer action or fantasy. 2000 AD has it all and should be on your radar. With a whole universe of characters from Judge Dredd and Strontium Dog to Rogue Trooper, Shakara Halo Jones, and many more, every weekly issue you get 5 action-packed thrills from incredible creators such as Garth Ennis, Rob Williams, Alex DeCampi, Dan Abnett, and so many others. Get a print subscription and it'll arrive to your door every week. And your first issue is free, or subscribe digitally. Get free back issues and download DRM-free copies of every issue for just $9 a month. That's 128 pages of incredible comics every month for less than $10. That's like a whole graphic novel's worth. All subscribers get amazing offers like discount vouchers and exclusive product offers. Head to 2000ad.com and click on subscribe now, or download the 2000AD app. And why wait? Start reading today. I'll put links in the show notes for you.
Hello, and welcome to Comic Book Yeti's Cryptid Creator Corner. I'm one of your hosts, Jimmy Gasparo, and I have 2 guests on the show, 2 returning guests who I guess had so much fun the last time, or maybe no one else would have them. That's probably not it, because they're both wonderful individuals. I love all the comic books that they've worked on, and they've combined forces for a new Mad Cave title buried long ago, which issue 1 is already out as we record this. I got a peek at issue 2, and damn, it is so good, so like creepy, in a way that I think a lot of horror comics aren't. And we're going to talk about it. But please welcome to the podcast, Anthony Cleveland and Alex Cormac. Anthony, Alex, how are you doing tonight?
Great. Yeah.
Hey.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, good. Doing great. Good to see you again, man.
Yeah, good seeing
Yeah.
you as well. So buried long ago. eh, I think the thing that struck me the most about this is, and I think I posted this on like a Blue Sky or somewhere, is that like the overarching thing I think about it is menacing, and just in a way, because they're like your 3 main cast members are kind of children. It's how Jesse, um, and is it Rylan and Hattie kind of see the events in their life. You're kind of seeing it through their eyes, and it I it's so like atmospheric, and their mother, is such a presence, and this kind of like malevolent force that I never know like how worried I need to be about the children while it's taking place. Um, there's an incredible pacing to it. Alex, you're like you know, some of the stuff that you've done before, and I'm a big fan, but I mean, your facial acting, the expressions on those kids' faces, I mean, is it legitimately terrifying. Like, especially in the second issue, which, if you're listening to this podcast as it comes out, you're gonna be able to go, and get the second issue, like, shortly. It's gonna be out, like, I think tomorrow. If this comes out on the Tuesday, this will be out on issue 2 is June 4th, but, um, yeah, there's a scene, because the family, when this takes place, it has an outhouse, and one of the kids has to use the outhouse, and, like, it is that, "Can my sibling come with me to the bathroom because 'cause I'm afraid of the dark?" Like, dialed up to, like, 20, not 11. So any event, I know I have a tendency to talk, like, way too much, and you guys are the guests on the podcast, but I just wanted to kinda get that out of the way first, that I thought these first 2 issues are tremendous
Hey.
in, like, an unbelievable way. So, I don't know, Anthony, can you kinda, like, start in terms of why did you wanna tackle this kinda topic and give it this, like, I mean, grim, and I mean that in the fairy tale sense and the darkness sense, and kinda give this story this, like, dark fairy tale treatment.
Yeah, I grew up in the area, so I went to a museum exhibit and saw the Belle Gunness story there, maybe middle school. And it's a story that doesn't have any answers in the end. So there's a lot of room for imagination to fill in the gaps and what you think. Everyone that hears a story has an idea of what they think happened to Belle. Real quick, Belle was a serial killer in LaPorte County. She put ads in a Chicago newspaper for wealthy men or just men with money to come to her farm. When they showed up, she killed them and buried them in the hog pit. Her house burned down. They found a body in the basement, but they're not sure if it was Belle's or not. Um, so that's kind of, where the imagination takes over for everybody that hears it. Did she get away? Is she still out? I mean, at the time, was she still out there? And I guess what happened? So when the imagination's there and the story's like 125 years old now, I knew about it for
Yeah.
25 years. That's how long I've kind of held on to it. And I think those 25 years I held on to it, it kept changing. But I kept noticing there are, like, fairy tale parallels that, jump into the story, like, the early reporters caught that, they called her Lady Bluebeard, and then I kinda thought about the story from what her kids might experience. They were locked in at night while she did whatever she did with the men, and I'm sure, they heard things, they know things, and I thought that would be a good way to approach the story, but for respect to them, not to include them. Explore the idea, but let's dig and make it firmly in fantasy and fairy tale. So that's what Very Long Ago does in like the first issue or the first pages of the issue. It's telling a fairy tale which echoes the Belle Gunness story. And one of the kids says, "That's not how I want to tell it. Let's tell it differently," or something along those lines.
Right.
So it
Yeah,
sets it
I mean,
off.
the limited because I did not realize I was telling you guys before we started recording, like, I didn't realize that this was even a little bit based off of a true story. I was not familiar with Belle Gunness. I kind of went in cold to the issue and just thought, "Oh, this is great." And then doing research for the interview, then I kind of dig in and I've already read 2 issues and I wanna see, like, what else might be out there. And then I think it was on the Mad Cave site, they talk about it, like, based on true events, and I was like, "Really?" And I look up Belle Gunness, and the anything you read about it is, like, each detail is, like, crazier than the last detail. I mean, they just were dig after the house burned down, they were digging up, like, gunny sacks filled with body parts. Um, they pronounced Belle Gunness dead, even though I think the headless woman's body they found in the burned out house was 5 inches shorter than her.
Right.
So, I mean, there's just, like, crazy, crazy details, but there is this element of it, I can see how you made the connection because there is almost this fairy tale urban legend idea of these men answering this ad. I mean, this there had to be an element, possibly of, uh, if like, it seem even if they weren't trying to, like, that they were they if there was a defense of like, "Oh, I'm doing this to take 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 advantage of this mother and her 3 kids on the farmhouse," and, like, that was definitely not the scenario. Like, there's many, many ways that the story, could go in, like, the fairy tale element, of it, because nobody knows what her real motivations were other than murder and money, if there was something else to it or something else, behind it, but, yeah, it just, unreal. Alex, when you came on board, were you familiar with this story at all?
No, no, I never heard of it. Yeah, I mean, yeah, my knowledge on true crime is like, is very limited. Like, I never, like, looked up any of the podcasts or, like, did any research. What I knew was like anybody else from just what you heard around growing up. So
Yeah.
I never, I'm up in New England, and so I never heard of Belle Guinness, and, but the way Anthony, he reached out to me, asked if I'd be interested in this book. But I mean, the way he was talking about it, way he was pitching it, that this is a hometown story for him. This is like you just said, he's been rolling around your head for the last 25 years. And I mean, that's what really got me going on it was just how like Anthony wanted to do this and how it was a passion project. And I was like, this is something you care this much about, and you're asking me to jump in. Like, how am I supposed to say no here? This sounds amazing. So let's do this. And but it's funny. So that scene you were just talking about earlier, the outhouse.
Oh, yeah, an
Um,
issue too.
yeah. So that was the first thing that we tried doing was because we've been kicking this around for the last like 5 years. And like it was like during COVID, Anthony, or it was like right
Right,
before COVID.
right at the time when it was getting bad. Yeah.
Yeah. So we had this so Anthony had the scene pretty much the way it is in the book, of, the sisters, one has to go to the bathroom, and, like, that whole dinner scenes before that, whole leading
Yeah.
into the bathroom, but, and that was great how it was, but, how Anthony has it for everybody who's about to pick up number 2, I mean, there's such a, like, 1, 2, 3 punch at the end of this issue, I was so proud to do it. But it was just like, it really was. It was just like, left or right and left, and you're down. So,
Yeah.
yeah, get ready for that, folks. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really impressed, with issue 1 in particular, it because there's I think horror can be very tough to do. I think there can be, like, tropes or crutches that artists
Oh,
and
sure, right?
writers and,
Yeah.
like, everybody relies on, but, man, there's just such a sense of dread in that first issue. You start with that kind of cold open fairy tale that turns into the kids on the train, you realize, like, they're reading the book, but from the moment they they meet their mom, they arrive on the train and mama's waiting for them. I mean, there is just such an oppressive mood to the whole thing. I mean, you don't ever rush to get to any anything gruesome or any type of action. It is like slowly rolled out, and it just continues. Like the intensity, I feel like continues um to build, and it really feels like the two of you, and I think Justin Birch lettered
Mhm.
right for
Yeah.
this. Yeah, I
Yep.
mean, it's just one of those things, everybody kind of, like, working together, you know, Anthony, with a story like this that's about a serial killer that, like, the real life has all of these wild details about dismembered body parts and finding body parts afterwards, like, you're doing this fairy tale setting, but was there ever did you, like, have to deliberately slow everything down? Like, I just feel like that pacing of it that you got felt like it would have been hard to do. Like, there would have been "Oh, he went away. Alright, Anthony went away. Okay.
I'll answer for you. The pacing was a piece of cake, and I did it in my sleep.
Okay. Oh, awesome. It's amazing."
No sweat.
My question was too long, and Anthony just
Say I'm
left.
out.
Like that scene in Return of the Jedi where Luke keeps asking questions and Yoda just
Yeah,
dies.
just rolls over like, "I'm done. I'm done." You know what? He just texted me saying the PC reset, so he'll be right back.
Alright, alright. Well, we'll get him back, and then I'll ask him my question about the pacing. So Alex, let's you and I talk, more.
Sure.
What like, I you you've drawn so many different, like, people, characters, but Belle feels like 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 her own type of, like, thing. Like, her features are just so fierce, and I've seen a
Hmm.
picture online looking up of what, like, she actually looked like, but you have a way of drawing her where she always doesn't quite come into focus. Maybe it's my prescription, but it just but there's something, like, very even alarming about how she looks. Did you try and model it off of the real person, or
So, yeah,
did you just
so
come up with your own thing?
yeah, well, so what we did was, and with her is, uh, probably the closest to the real person that there was because,
Mhm.
because, I mean, since these were real people and this was kind of a thing I was cautious about, like jumping in because every other story I've done is though been made up or it might have been like loosely based off something, but it wasn't real
Right.
people. I was gonna get a phone call from a relative or like that. This, on the other hand, was real people. Now, like these were real people. This really happened,
Yeah.
and so what I did was just kind of separate a little as much as I could, for my own sake. Was like a lot of the most of the characters were kind of, hey, Anthony, back, you're back. So a
There he
lot of the
is.
characters where I just kind of like because Anthony sent me a packet with like newspaper clippings, real photos of the real people, and all this. So like the daughters, I kind of just went off on their own, especially the oldest. Like
Yeah.
looks nothing like the real person. The younger two a little bit, but it's different enough. Belle, I remember I did a few different versions, and the one that we stuck with is pretty her at least her face, is kinda close to the original person, but, as I've said before, the biggest difference is I gave her a different haircut, and, because the real Belle just had it pulled back in a like a bun, but, the one we have in the comic, I actually gave her my 5th grade teacher's haircut, which I hated this lady, so I as a kid, I was like, one of these days I'll show her, let
Yeah.
me go out for recess or whatever, got me upset. Um, so yeah, so she had this big like, fro. And so I kind of I was like, oh well, I'll add this in there, and it kind of with everything else kind of separates it a little bit from like the real tragedies that really happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Well, I think the hair lends itself to it. Like you do a lot. Part of that sense of like doom or the oppressive nature of it is like when there are just like talking head panels. Like there are some where you feel like Belle has this like she takes up most of a panel and she's at this angle because she's talking to children. Like you feel like she's talking, down
oh
at
yeah, yeah,
you as you're reading
yeah,
it.
yeah. That was
Which
that was all yeah. I think if most of them you're looking up at her, and
yeah,
like even there's a shot in their first issue where I won't give away what's going on, but, Jesse walks in the room and Belle's crouched on the ground, but there's is still eye level, even though we're looking down at her, but it's still like, try not to give that, like, looking down, try to make her look weak at all, but it's like she's always in control and in power and somebody to be reckoned with.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Anthony, welcome back. I said my question was too long, and you just like became one with the forest and went went away. With a story like this, where there are a lot of opportunities to really play up the horror elements of it, I feel like the pacing of it really feels very very deliberate. Like it really has like a slow build. Um, Was that difficult to do for you? Like, did you have a tendency to kinda wanna, like, race to something more actiony or murderous? Or were you really had an idea of how you wanted the pacing of the story to go?
Yeah, this one, I think it was different from the other books. I think, like Charred Remains, it was, be forward with the monster or the horror, whatever it might be. This one was all about getting the characters firmly down. This was a time to try to make something scary, and for me, it's hard to make, horror comics scary. You don't have a lot of the same tools as other mediums. But one of the best things we could probably do is make characters that people like, and that's what we try to do with this book is really take our time with them. So you got the scene on the train where they're joking and being kids pretty much, and then it kind of starts to shift from there when the mother comes. Um, Domestic horror is probably my favorite like subgenre of horror. Like The Shining, Hereditary, things where you're trapped at home and people that are around you that should support you and love you aren't what they appear to be or what they should be. Um, so that's a big part of this I took from it, because those are also really successful scares, taking the normal and turning it into something terrifying.
Oh, yeah. I
Mm.
mean, The Shining, especially. Um, I haven't seen Hereditary because the trailer looked too
Oh.
scary, so
Oh, it's
I
good. It's really good, yeah.
Yeah.
well, and you know what? You say that, and it instantly made me think of in the first issue, the scene where Jesse kind of yells at, they're her two siblings, and has that moment, and it comes out great on the page, and like Alex, it looks awful in a good way. I mean, like she really looks like she has done something because she is really trying to take care of her siblings, but she doesn't know how else to get them to understand that. It almost feels like there's a moment of it where she's kind of mimicking the things that her mom has told her,
Yeah.
and it's terrifying. It's not in like we're gonna get you monster scary, but like the monster's here in me scary. Like it's a flash of a moment that I just felt worked so well. And as soon as you said that, Anthony, that made a lot of sense. I mean, it was really well done.
Yeah, the close up that when she's screaming is, yeah, something that I think about a lot in my head. Just like that, the eyes even kind of change. It's a really great panel. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes. Very. It is. It's very well done.
All right, everybody, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Let's face it, the comics landscape is a mess right now. I'm the editor-in-chief of a comics journalism outlet, and I can't even keep track of it all. If you are as passionate as I am about indie comics and its creators, you should check out the Lantern Guide. Created on the premise of creating light in the dark, it's going to be the go-to resource to keep you up to date on the projects and the creators that you love. Don't take my word for it. I reached out to my friend Brian Lovell, Poison Ivy artist and indie comics creator, to get his take. Brian, what does the Lantern Project fix?
I'm a dude who loves indie comics, and I know personally, like, I get very frustrated when something shows up in my social media timeline or something like that, and I feel like I can't keep track of everything. So, really, the Lantern Project was born out of that. It was an opportunity for me as a reader to kind of like have a place to want to consolidate all the stuff that I wanted to read, all the cool projects from cool creators that seemed interesting and kind of unique to like something that I would like, which is really not super represented everywhere else, but it's all over the indies. Having a spot to go to that felt like it consolidated a lot of those audiences and a lot of those places where I couldn't just get drowned out in the feed of social media seemed really valuable to me.
What's the ultimate goal?
It's really our hope with this project that creators feel like they're able to get in front of readers, and readers are able to get books that they actually want to read with a much easier time of keeping track of them and accessing them.
Catalog is scheduled for a quarterly release, so head over to thelanterncatalog.com to sign up now so you don't miss your next favorite thing. I'll put a link in the show notes for you. Y'all, Jimmy, the Chaos Goblin, strikes again. I should have known better than to mention I was working on my DC Universe meets Ravenloft hybrid D&D campaign on social media. My bad. He goes and tags a bunch of comics creators we know, and now I have to get it in gear and whip this campaign into shape so we can start playing. Another friend chimes in, are you going to make maps? It's fair to say it's been a while since I put something together, so I guess, ? It was then that I discovered Arkenforge. If you don't know who Arkenforge is, they have everything you need to make your TTRPG more fun and immersive, allowing you to build, play, and export animated maps, including in-person Fog of War capability that lets your players interact with maps as the adventure unfolds while you, the DM, get the full picture. Now I'm set to easily build high-res animated maps, saving myself precious time and significantly adding nuance to our campaign. That's a win every day in my book. Check them out at arkenforge.com and use the discount code YETI5 to get $5 off. I'll drop a link in the show notes for you, and big thanks to Arkenforge for partnering with our show. I think I'm going to make Jimmy play a Goblin Warlock just to get even. Welcome back.
What do you think that draws you to like domestic horror? Like, why out of all the different types of subgenres of horror is it the idea of something familiar becoming terrifying, or is there something else to it?
Yeah, it's relatable. It's tangible. I mean, think about a bad time you had at your house and then amplify that to however far you need to go. I mean, I think just the idea of taking what's safe and what's secure and then flipping that entirely away um, is a good way to make some scares come out for sure. And I mean, just to explore that too, take away what's safe. How would you react kind of thing. I think that's a dark part of our imagination we don't like to go. I think there's a lot of good ideas there. I mean, there's cosmic horror and everything that's beyond, but I think sometimes what's in front of us gets missed. There's just a lot of to mine there for ideas and horror.
Yeah. And especially with a story like this where, you kind of set it up in the first issue where, uh, you know, Jesse is the protector of her siblings, um, but also kind of has to mind them, but also is old enough that she definitely knows more, in this story, more of what is actually going on. And it like there's that added element, which is why it's so terrifying when she yells at her siblings. But like seeing that play out, um, and we kind of see more of it in terms of issue 2 with her standing up for her siblings or I really not standing up, but more so taking the blame. I don't think anybody's standing up to Belle. But, but, yeah, it's very I mean, it's very well done. Alex, with all the different things that you've done, and I know you're, as you talked about a little bit earlier, you're kind of mindful of, the angles and the paneling and making sure that Belle never looks weak and imposing. Um, is it difficult to kind of get the characters like body language right whenever like Belle is in a scene, especially because we see in issue 1 and issue 2 where there are these other men where we know what the fate of it is. And we have both have seen, I guess her husband in issue 1 and then the man that comes in issue 2 is definitely different personality wise. Seems like he has his own plan and agenda. Um, when
Oh
you
yeah.
get something like that in the script, like, how do you approach, like, kinda getting that nuance of Belle kind of playing a role, but also having this ulterior motive and playing off against somebody else who might have the same in terms of her next victim?
Well, so much that I mean, I gotta give Anthony credit because I mean, so much of that characterization is in the script, how these guys are acting, how they're like just like especially the guy in the second issue just seems like such a sleaze scumbag type of like like just just a
Mhm.
punk. Whereas I mean the first one, the guy's, he seems like a sweetheart. He's probably a nice guy. He's, the type that would help a lady cross the street, and but so the what I mean, I can get the nitty gritty of it. Like what I'll do is after doing like layouts and kind of you know putting it all together, what I'll do is I'll set up my wife's computer with the photo booth, hit record on like a video, and then like I'll act out each page. So I'll get up and I'll act like the guy. So I'll be like, yeah, shame, like whatever he's doing. I don't know why I don't think he's doing that, but that's issue 5 or whatever. But I'll get up and I'll like act out the mannerisms of like how someone would be like, all right, if I was telling this line, this is how I would say it. This is how I would say it. Trying to remember what I would be like as a kid talking to like an authority figure. This is how I would talk if I was talking to one of my own kids. Stuff like that. And it just good old fashioned, just act it out. Then I'll go back. I'll see what I've done. I kind of see the poses that I've done, and going along with the layouts, and then I'll draw from that. And yeah, that's basically behind the scenes of what I do every day. And
No, we
no, you
like
can't
seeing
see
how the
these
sausage
videos
is
because
made.
most of the time I'm like in my pajamas or whatever, or just whatever. Like I just woke up and I'm wearing like a t-shirt and shorts and just like, all right, let's do this. There's the panel one, where's my coffee, and it's like music playing in the background. I'm like, all right, let's try this out.
Oh, no, I love hearing how it's done. I'm not an artist, and but love comics and love seeing and hearing how they come together. Everyone has their kind of, I guess, own unique approach. So,
Yeah, I'm not
but
gonna hire any actor, so I might as well do it myself, right?
right, right. So we know if you're hacked and all these videos start appearing.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
Alex in his Alex in his pajamas and all these strange poses that he's. That could be a fun game. You could just release a video and we have to guess which comic it's from.
Yeah, right. My hair looks like this, then.
Yeah. And we know if you have like a
Yep.
one big mop Like a wig? Well, no.
Yeah,
Oh,
if
I think that's very, very
you a
long
big
ago.
clown wig, a big curly red.
Right, right. If you look like you're cold, we're like, "Rhoda Bones."
Oh, sure, yeah. No, I got that hat in the other room. Yeah, that has
Nice.
my is one of my winter hats.
yeah.
But,
Um,
like, I mean, I'll have my son come in and be like, "All right, dude, you guys sit here. I'm gonna be this," and look at me and be like, "Er," and like, "Okay, great. Now I know that angle." Or I'll have my wife come in and, it drives them nuts. But like, I'm like, "Honey, no, you gotta stand right here and put your hand up. Not like that. You gotta like," and she's like, I'm in the middle of something. I got my own life." I'm like, "I'm sorry. I'm just 2 seconds."
um, Anthony, you had said that you thought about this story for, you know, I think decades. You said that, it's been
Mm.
around a long time since you had first heard of this, um, this, I guess, somewhat prolific, Midwestern serial killer. Had you ever like, was it just the idea? Had you ever thought about trying this, like, previously? Like, what was from the I guess, the beginning of the idea that you had, like, "Oh, this type of story could work," to when you sit down and start scripting? Like, what type of time period was that? And, like, had the idea for the story changed in your head before you actually started to getting it out on paper?
Yeah, a lot of different ways. I mean, the first time I heard the story, I didn't really get all the details. It was my dad was telling me it while I'm just staring at the Belle Gunness mannequin getting completely creeped out. Um, so from then it was like a creepypasta I posted online, just bunch of bits and pieces of truth and like made up whatever just to creep other kids out. And then from then it was like, I think I tried to do a screenplay, to see where that went, and just the reaction from people was very interesting. It was like, because it's a very familiar story, it's a Black Widow story. It's, a widow killing for money, taking the money, and then, I guess getting away in the end. I think that was too familiar for a lot of readers, when I
Okay.
had it passed around. I'm like, okay, so you need a different angle or different way to tell the story, to make it less obvious. I think that's where the idea of like the perspective needs to change. And I think the kids was the most obvious way to go for me on that. But yeah, I mean, I've tried to tell it like straight. I tried to do a documentary, the screenplay, which was kind of like a docu series kind of thing.
Okay.
Um, But yeah, I think once I was like, well, if we change perspective, you kind of change what you can show, um, a little bit at a time instead of being forward that she's, killing for money. And then from then it just kind of came together to this comic. And they think, it came to the comic because it's a very experimental story. It's true crime and fairy tale. That's a tough combo to do, and comics is just a very forgiving storytelling medium. You can probably get away with more here than you can anywhere else. So that's why we kinda rolled with, the comic format here.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
that's interesting to think that, like, uh, comics is a forgiving medium that you could to get away with stuff. I was thinking about it more along the lines that you can, because of the mix of new narrative and visual storytelling, or in terms of, the dialogue or captions, and then having that picture go with it, you have a little more, control over how the reader experiences the story. But, posing it as it's more forgiving. I like that idea too, in
I
terms of
think
the stuff
yeah.
that you can do.
I think people are just used to experimentation with comics, especially indie comics.
Yeah.
You've got a flaming carrot, you've got I mean, the first comic book not the first comic book, but, like, Superman began with his underwear on the outside of his pants, and that was totally fine. It's very forgiving. Readers don't, beat up details too often here. I think because there's just it's really spurs your imagination. You can get lost in it very easily with this medium, and it's like very open. Like you're only limited by what your imagination is, or you guess you're drawing at your skill at the time. Yeah.
Yeah. I also wanted I know I mentioned Justin's name before because I'm a big fan of, Justin's lettering, but especially in the 2nd issue, and we've talked about that outhouse scene, but especially the dialogue that happens, and the sounds or that come out of the outhouse. I mean, it's so good. Like it's one of those things. Like everything just really comes together, and Alex, you put it perfectly. It is like a 1, 2, 3 punch.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Leading to the end of that second issue. One of the things I thought was interesting, um, because when you hear of a story like this, and Anthony, you said you think the first idea like might have been a screenplay, and it's like, oh yeah, this definitely seems like the type of story that somebody would turn into like a movie. And I was on Wikipedia looking at some of the ways that this story has been changed or adapted. My favorite, a 2004 film called Method, about a film
Yeah.
within a film. The cast and crew are in Romania to make a film about serial killer uh, Belle Gunness, and the main character, Elizabeth Hurley. Not my first choice
Yeah.
for a movie about Belle
Yeah.
Gunness. I don't think they were going for historical accuracy, but it's Hollywood.
Yeah. That's a very common thing with the retellings of this story is like the old Pope art is like she's always, blonde,
Yeah,
uh, chest showing. It's just like, okay, yeah, that's the
Yeah,
not quite.
we
Not
we
quite.
didn't go that route. It was
No.
yeah, yeah. No,
yeah.
no,
I
not
did
at
look
all.
up the Hurley. Probably
Yeah. Um, and so, I really like, um, Alex, I really like your cover, for issue 1 as well, is very good, and I think there's
Thank
a
you.
variant cover that was done by, Colleen Doran as well for
Yeah,
Yep.
issue 1. That's awesome.
yeah. No, yeah. We were super excited when we first heard about that and all that. She did great.
Yeah. Yeah, both look really good. And so how many issues is this gonna be overall?
It's 5, right?
Yep. 5
Yeah, 5
issues.
issues. Yeah,
Done in September, I think.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I mean, that's the thing right now. Like, it's for our sake. The comic's done. It's
Right.
everything's drawn. Everything's lettered. It's ready to rock. So, but yeah, so it's just coming out. So you don't have to worry about any delays on our part. You don't have to worry about me like spilling coffee on all the pages and I have to redo everything. You know. So, but yeah, no, it's ready to rock.
Yeah, yeah, I thought it was great. The first issue was awesome, and I'm so excited. One of the things I love about doing this when somebody's like, "Hey, do you want to see a sneak peek of this?" It's like I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, please."
And and that's the thing with the series too, and it's because the first issue is great. Second issue, like it's got one of my favorite endings. Third issue, I mean, it's just every issue is my favorite issue of
Hmm.
this series.
Yeah.
And like, because I'm like, oh no, like number 3 is my favorite. Then I did number 4. I'm like, all right, number 4, I really dig this, and then this part's really cool, and then number 5, I'm like, oh, it's how it ends. So yeah, it's one of those like each issue builds up and up and up. So, yeah, it's one of those, there's no duds. It's, as what's her face's one time said, "It's all killer, no filler."
Yeah,
Hmm.
Some
yeah,
41.
definitely. Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah. Every issue is something different too. It's
Yeah.
whew, gets there.
Oh, yeah, where do you see the 3rd one?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I know, I can't wait. So Anthony, was this when you kind of, I guess, did you pitch this and then like to Alex? Like, were you like wanting to work with him? Because was this the first time the two of you have ever worked together?
Kind
Yeah.
of.
I mean, yeah, kind of.
Okay.
Yeah. The first book we've had come out together. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the way to put it.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, I approached him on Twitter, asked if he was interested, and said yes. And we went. We tried. We
Yeah.
really tried. We tried for like I said, 5 years.
Yeah, we
Very
had, like,
close with
4
three different
pages they were
publishers.
kicking
Yeah.
around. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah. Four
wow.
pages. Yeah.
Yeah.
Three different publishers. Lots of
A lot of
maybes. Lots of
yeah,
ghosting.
yeah, a lot of stringing us along, and then, someone came up.
Oh
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah,
Lots
a
of
Yeah.
lot
I
of
mean,
real close calls, so you're like, "Okay, we got it, let's go." and
Yeah,
then
I mean,
but
I'm glad Mad Cave, you found a home for
yeah,
it
absolutely,
with
yeah.
Mad Cave. I mean, I guess I could think, even though the like true crime it has been big for a number of years now, especially in like the podcast. But I guess the idea of like a historical true crime serial killer dark fairy tale, when you say it, it's like, oh, what is that? Like, what is that going to be? Like, is that kind of like a tough sell? But like, then you see the first issue, and it's like, I don't, I can't think of something that I would compare this to. And see, for me, as a reader of a lot of comics, I like that. I like that's what I one of the things I like about comics. There's something on the shelf for anybody. I can take
Yeah,
5 friends in who have never read any comics before and, and say, "What do you like?" and find something. Like I can't think of, when they do buried long, long ago is like this meets this. Like I can't really even come up with a good one right now, and that's what I like about it. I can't think of anything to compare it to. It feels like it's very much, its own thing. And I feel like Alex is kind of like the perfect person for this with the other work that he's done. Anthony, you always do a really great job of like working well with the different artists that you've worked with, whether or not, it's the circus show's end,
yeah, yeah.
whether or Stargazer
Mhm.
or, Charred Remains and now this. None, in terms of the artists you work with, if you put issues side by side, none of that stuff looks like anything else. Um, it's really kind of just an incredible synthesis of of both of yours and Justin's,
yeah.
talents. I
Yeah,
don't
I
know
I
if
mean
there's a question there. I'm just talking. So we're just
no, I
having
I'll
fun.
mean,
take it. I mean, that's,
with all yeah, with all of them, it's like the script is generally pretty loose, and I try not to make it too loose that anyone's gonna be lost, but it's after I pass it off, I'm mostly done. There's, like, very few things, like, I might jump in and suggest, but typically it's, like, story continuity,
Yeah.
things like that, we need to draw this in because it's important later kinda thing.
Mhm.
But above that, like, I wanna get the heck out of there. I don't wanna be in anybody's way.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
okay.
I think when you do that, then I think you get the best stuff, from your artist.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I just think that I can't wait to see the rest of this, and because I just really feel like there's nothing else, quite like this story being told this way. So, you don't really see, you know, children as main characters who are not just used for, like, fodder for something else or something, like, bad to happen in horror, right? It feels like these kids kinda have some agency, which I also like about it, which also kinda makes it a little more terrifying. Because when you have characters like that you've given agency to, and you start to care about, it makes it even worse if something bad does, happen to them, right?
Mm.
So, yeah, well, very well done, so.
Eh, I mean, that was the biggest goal off the gate was to make these girls likable, make us care about them, and, like, that was what I struggled with the most trying to get the dang book going. I didn't know what personalities to put into, these 3 girls, and then I kind of realized they're all the same ages as my kids. So I'm like, "Alright, I'll just put my kids in there." And that's all 3 of them right there, you know?
Well, it works.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, that personality dynamic works. I mean, I have 2 kids, whether or not it's your own kids or whether or not it's, like, kids you remember growing up who there were more than, like, 2 or 3 siblings, you kinda get a sense of how siblings work, in terms of the birth order and in terms of those different personalities. So there might be some variations, but I think there is some truth to that, oldest child, middle child, youngest child thing. And that's probably one of the reasons that their relationship feels, 2 issues in does feel, authentic.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
And so as you know, after this, like this is all done and it'll be coming out. Is there anything else that you guys have in the works that you want to mention to listeners now?
Nothing cool.
Nothing cool, Anthony.
Nothing cool.
No.
Everybody you're working with just went like, God. Oh,
How about you, Alex? Anthony's got
no,
nothing cool.
yeah, there's some cool ones.
Okay.
Yeah, so let's see. I got a few projects coming out. The ones I can talk about. So I have a two-part, 2-issue, like mini series called Six Shots coming out with my buddies at Bliss on Tap, which is a small publishing company, and that'll be coming out sometime soon. Still covering the second issue of that, but
Okay.
and then some other stuff coming out, but still in the works on that. So I can't tell you what that is, but
All
I
right.
can show you one thing that I realized is sitting on my desk that Anthony sent me is
Oh yeah.
a
Hey.
celebration. There you go. Where's the camera?
Here
So
it is.
as a gift for when the series ended, Anthony sent me this, which is like real life dirt from the Belle Gunness farm.
Oh, no.
And
Okay.
so I was like, oh man. And my wife saw this and she was like, get that out of my house right now.
She might that,
I'm
that
like,
might
no,
be a
I'm putting this right here.
look, Alex, I don't want to alarm you, but as somebody who has watched all 15 seasons of Supernatural, that could be cursed.
I'm sure it
So,
is.
you know, just I think you need a salt circle around you for ghosts,
I would love it
or
if once
something.
you said that,
So,
then the table breaks. A chair falls over or something.
um,
Yeah,
all right,
I'll put
well,
like a little hocus pocus. Yeah, I'll get some.
do
Who am I
something.
fooling?
That's
Yeah, I'm gonna
pretty
get some
cool,
salt.
though. Anthony, I think that's no. All jokes aside, I really think that's pretty cool. Like to
Yeah.
have something like that, to kind of
Yeah.
commemorate the end of the series. That's
Yeah. I
awesome.
mean, I've been to that property. So the house burnt down. The foundation's still there. They built a new house on top of that foundation. So when I was able to go to the property, I asked the owners, like, "Can I go in the basement?" So I actually got to go into the basement
Ooh.
where she probably dismembered and processed all those men. That was
Jeez.
something, because those
Yeah,
walls
I
are
bet.
still there.
Yeah.
Um,
So wait, is that where you said at some point about a museum? Is that where the museum is, or like there are people actually living there, like that's their home?
a family lives there. Yeah, yeah, that's
Oh
their
my
home.
gosh.
They're still
No,
finding
no,
things there. They
no,
found
thank you. No,
old
thank
old
you.
old hog bones, the bricks from the house are still there. They had them lined around the fireplace, and then just odd things, because a lot of people came when they found the bodies, it became like a tourist spot. So a lot of people came and trampled the grounds, ruined the crime scene, and I think a lot of them left a lot of weird stuff behind. So there's stuff there that they're just digging up. They had a dirt track or a dirt bike track, and so while they were doing that, they uncovered a lot of stuff. Not like, oh my god, like remains or anything like
Yeah.
that, but like hog bones, like
Yeah.
vulcanized rubber teeth, odd things like that.
Oh wow.
Rubber teeth.
Yeah. Yeah, like, I don't know. Someone must have dropped them when they were visiting some time ago. Yeah.
That is
You just
that
lose
is
your rubber
wild.
teeth,
Yeah, yeah.
man.
How you do?
I mean,
You
you
know
definitely have to disclose that in like a seller's disclosure, right? Like
Yeah.
this
Yeah,
house
you
was
hope
once
so,
the
right?
site
Oh,
of
and
a
as a heads
serial
up.
killer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you got to disclose that. Um, well, guys, I thank you so much for coming on the podcast and being able to talk tonight and joke around a little bit. I think Buried Long Ago is awesome. It is so creepy and like really terrifying, in a way that I don't think a comic has been since. I mean, it probably I don't think I felt the way reading a comic book since the first time I read Witches by Scott Snyder and Jock. I don't think I have read a comic that kind of made me as uneasy as Witches did since I've read Buried Long Ago. So, I think it's fantastic. Listeners, you definitely got to go and get issue 1. If you're listening to this when the episode comes out, issue 2 will be out June 4th. It's a 5-issue series from Mad Cave. It's Anthony Cleveland, Alex Cormack, and Justin Birch. And it's get it. Let's talk about it. It's seriously, it's some of the most like terrifying and oppressive comic I think I've read. So, Anthony and Alex, but thank you coming on the
Hey.
podcast, talking to me about it. I
Yeah.
really appreciate it.
Dude, thanks
Yeah,
so
thank
much.
you so much. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, and listeners, shout out to my brother Bobby, the Cryptid Creator Corner's #1 most dedicated fan. Bobby listens to all my episodes, and I say this every episode because Bobby does listen, and he likes when I say his name. So we do that for him.
Hey,
Um,
Bobby.
Hey,
and
Bobby.
so hopefully I'll be back with more episodes. Tomorrow I have my first ever oral argument in the Delaware Supreme Court. So after if you see me in future episodes and I'm really sad, it's because it didn't go well.
Aw.
But we'll see. No, it's a fun issue. It's a fun thing. It's nice that I still get to discover stuff after being an attorney for almost 20 years that I haven't argued before the Delaware Supreme Court. So as we record this, that'll be tomorrow. So yeah, that'll be fun too. But listeners, let me know what you're reading. Let's talk about some more comics. Thank you very much for listening. Byron wants me to remind you to rate and review. And yeah, thanks a lot.
This is Byron O'Neill, one of your hosts of the Cryptid Creator Corner, brought to you by Comic Book Yeti. We hope you've enjoyed this episode of our podcast. Please rate, review, subscribe, all that good stuff. It lets us know how we're doing, and more importantly, how we can improve. Thanks for listening.
All right, here we go.
New Phineas and Ferb is here.
We're back, baby.
For 104 more days
I know what we're gonna do today.
of summer vacation.
I am ready for summer shenanigans. Let's do it. Oh, yeah.
We're gonna bust Phineas and Ferb once and for all.
Are we gonna do this again?
New inventions, shenanigans, innators, adventures, and songs.
Brand new summer vacation.
New Phineas and Ferb starts June 5th on Disney Channel and next day on Disney Plus. On DisneyPlus.Disney.com.